What up, Screen Fiends? I'm GB, and you're tuned in to Headz TV, where we like to discuss all the wonderful things appearing on your movie and your TV screens. In this episode, we're gonna do another DC vs. MCU video. This one is gonna be pitting Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice versus Civil War. Now, in the first, well, not the first, but in the second video I did, was about Man of Steel versus Iron Man. So if you are interested in that, when this video is over, definitely go check out the Man of Steel versus Iron Man video. Now, the reason why I pitted Man of Steel versus Iron Man against each other was because they were both the movie that was that started off their particular cinematic universe, their respective cinematic universe, whatever. This video, the reason why I chose Batman vs. Superman versus Civil War is because these were the first films in their franchises to make the movie about two heroes going against each other, as opposed to a group of heroes versus a villain, or one hero versus a villain, or whatever. Alright, so let's start first with Civil War, because obviously, you watch my videos, you know how I feel. I liked that one better as a movie. So let's start with that one. Civil War was a near perfect movie. There were a few things that I really did not like about the way it was handled. Let me just get those out of the way. First, like most Marvel properties, my main problem was the villain. Did I like Zemo? Did I like what they did with Zemo? How they kind of changed him up a little from the comics? Absolutely. There should have been more of him. He should have been more involved in the movie overall. He was very involved in the plot, but that's not really evident until the end of the movie. So I just feel like we should have had some more Zemo, and they would have benefited from having Crossbones around longer in the movie. It just would have added more excitement to know that there's a villain out there too, trying to hunt down these heroes and exact his revenge on Cap or whatever. And they could have just taken out a random henchman or brought in some new villain real quick, like they did with Batroc, to be taken out by, you know, the way Crossbones was taken out in Civil War. So I have that problem, and then I have the problem I have with the big battle, the airport battle. One of the best action scenes in any action movie, one of the best action scenes in any superhero movie by far. But the stakes are not there. You don't feel like these guys are trying to hurt each other or that anyone will get hurt. In fact, you feel like that throughout the whole fight, so much so that when Rhodey does get hurt towards the end of that battle, you're surprised by it, because the whole battle was really just them going light on each other. And I know that's kind of explained in the dialogue of the fighting, and it makes sense. These guys don't really hate each other. They just disagree right now. So it makes sense why they're holding back, why they're not going for it, whatever. But I feel like they should have built it up in a way that when that fight happened, these guys really were fighting for their lives. And that's why I say you throw Crossbones in there too. So it's heroes versus heroes, and then a villain, or a group of villains too, and it's all mishmash. It wouldn't have been too much. It just, all it would have done was raise the stakes and made us feel like our heroes were in danger. You know, during that fight, and I don't think you were meant to, but you never get that sense of the heroes are in danger. All you get is, oh wow, that was cool, that was cool, that was cool. Oh, he got his ass kicked, he got his ass kicked. But nothing serious in that airport battle. And they went wrong there, I felt. The stakes should have been a little higher in that moment. I'm not saying the stakes weren't good for the whole movie, but in that moment, it felt a little underwhelming because there's no danger. The action was hella cool though. And as an action set piece, it was great. But where it fit in the story lacked a bit for me. And that's really it. Complaints about Civil War. Other than that, loved it. Top to bottom, front to back, all around. It was a great way to tell that story. The comic version is so convoluted, and there's so many characters and storylines going on. It's hard to keep up with it all, and unless you read all the little sub-issues, everything doesn't make total sense. So the way they were able to wrap this up, I think they did a good job. Definitely. Standouts of the movie, you know, Black Panther was absolutely amazing. Was it cool to see Spider-Man? Yes. Was he as big of a standout as everyone made him out to be? I don't think so. He was good. He was funny. The one scene where Tony recruits him does feel out of place. I guess that's another complaint. It does feel like it was shoehorned in. It does feel like it was added in after the fact. But it was, because originally they wanted Spidey. Didn't think they could get him, so they wrote Black Panther's role bigger. And then they were able to get Spidey, and then they kind of just crammed him back in. They probably took part of his story from the original script with Spidey in it and tried to make it work. Did feel a little out of place. To me, the standout characters were... Tony's always great. Iron Man's always great. Cap is always great. But Winter Soldier was really awesome with his action. And his acting was better in this one because he was less of a killing robot and more of a person. So you got to feel him a little bit more in Civil War than you did in Winter Soldier. But Black Panther was definitely the standout. But everybody was solid. Loved Vision. Loved all the Vision and Scarlet Witch stuff. I love how they're able to make the moments light and still dark subject matter. You're able to laugh and have fun during a Marvel movie. Whereas a DC movie, you might have fun. Doubt you're going to laugh. And if you do laugh, it's going to be a chuckle because of something so brutal happening on the screen. It's not going to be like, oh, that character was funny, or that line was great, or I get that reference. So as a whole, Civil War, I loved it. Civil War to me is as close to a 5 out of 5 as any superhero movie has probably gotten besides Logan. So I would probably give it a 4.5, 4.7 as a whole. But this isn't about rating or reviewing the movies. It's about comparing them, right? So the reason why I feel DC came out with this movie when they did was because Marvel was coming out with theirs when they did. So now Marvel's feels fleshed out. It feels like it works and makes sense because we've come to know all these characters and this conflict has been building for years now in movies. Whereas Batman vs. Superman, it's just thrown at us. Hey, you saw Superman once. Here he is again. Hey, you never seen this Batman. Here he is. Hey, you never seen this Wonder Woman. Here she is. Hey, you never seen this Lex. Here he is. And they're trying to explain it all in one movie and it just doesn't work. It's too convoluted. It's too out there. The battle between Batman vs. Superman, which there should have been more of them, and they should have been better. The movie is called Batman vs. Superman, and it was almost 3 hours long. Civil War, you feel the action, every scene, you feel it, it's good, it's there. You're working with it, you're loving it. Batman vs. Superman, it's like when it's there, it's like, yes, finally. And then it doesn't really play out the way you want it to, and it was kind of uneventful, and you kind of wish that they had a redo on doing those scenes over. So definitely Batman vs. Superman fails on the action, whereas Civil War is above and beyond. Now, the inclusion of Lex and Doomsday in Batman vs. Superman, Doomsday to me was the wrong choice. Lex, of course, should have been there, but he should have had the Zemo role. He should have played a bigger role throughout the movie, getting the two to go against. Yes, I know what you're going to say. He was the one that got them to go against each other. He kidnapped Martha and blah, 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 and antagonized this one and that one into fighting. Okay, yeah, he did, but it should have been a bigger thread throughout the movie and not just like a one scene or one and done scene. I felt the same way about Zemo, though. So, in respects, they both failed on having the villain be brought into the story better. Doomsday was a total fail for me. The fight sucked, the CGI sucked, the character didn't belong in that movie where he did. I do like how he was created through Zod's DNA and kryptonite and this and that, but, sorry, fell flat for me. Another fail for Batman vs. Superman. I'm so glad that Civil War didn't feel the need to throw some big, huge world or city threat in there for this. It was a personal story, Civil War. Batman vs. Superman should have been a personal story, but then they go and throw Wonder Woman and Doomsday in there and make it not personal anymore. So that's another fail. The performances in Batman vs. Superman I have no problem with. I hate the direction they took Lois in. If you want a female to get into the action, you bring us a Wonder Woman, you bring us a Catwoman, you bring us a Black Canary. You bring us a female hero that can kick ass. You don't give us a reporter to be brought into the action. That was my complaint with Man of Steel 2, is that Lois Lane was integrated in the story poorly, just like she was integrated in the story poorly here. Yeah, I mean, oh, and the ending. All right, let's talk about the way the fights end. First off, Captain America's fight versus Iron Man and Winter Soldier was way more brutal. And it was a movie that wasn't being marketed as dark and gritty and realistic and more adult. It was a Marvel movie fitting into the Marvel trope. But that last fight was brutal. And it was amazing. And it was packed with such emotional punch because it was built up from the beginning about Tony's parents and Winter Soldier's involvement in their death. Built up throughout that whole movie. And you can even go back and watch things like Winter Soldier and other movies and pick little things that they used to make that emotional punch, that emotional impact so much harder. Civil War worked with that. Batman vs. Superman didn't. The fight was anticlimactic, it was underwhelming, and then when it comes to an end, it's no emotional punch. I have a mother too. I didn't feel that emotional punch from the way it was presented. If that's how they were going to end it, which I think was the wrong choice for Batman vs. Superman, but if that's how they were going to end it, they should have done it in a more creative, more emotional, and a much more impactful way so that I have a feeling for what's going on. But that's almost impossible to do when you don't know who the characters are and they're not portrayed properly and they're not brought to the screen with any type of justice or appreciation for the character. So, Batman vs. Superman tried to rush as always and beat Marvel to the punch and do a hero versus hero. They even changed the release date from the same month as Civil War to 2 months earlier so that they could try and jump the gun and hope that everyone would say Marvel just bit off DC. But you know what? Even if that was the case and DC had the idea first and then Marvel jumped on the train, Marvel did it better. Marvel did it more impactful. Marvel's had an impact on me where I wanted to watch it because I liked it. Batman vs. Superman, I rewatched it because I wanted to like it. I wanted to give it another chance and hope that it was better on rewatch. Civil War, I couldn't wait to watch it again because it was so amazing. So, that's the difference between Batman vs. Superman and Civil War. One was a well-crafted, well-thought-out movie with emotional impact, emotional punch, and an emotional connection to the characters and the storyline, whereas Batman vs. Superman was a cash grab. It was a way for Warner Brothers to try and get the money real quick while this storyline or idea was hot. And that's where DC's going wrong, by having Warner Brothers fucking run the show over there, where it should be DC running the show. Disney is not running the show over at Marvel. Do they have a say? Sure. Do they fuck with things here and there? Absolutely. So does Feige. There are certain... Age of Ultron should have been way better than it was. But the studio involvement and Feige tinkering with Whedon is what, in my opinion, pushed Whedon out of doing any further Marvel cinematic movies. But that's a misstep on Marvel's part. But do they do it all the time? No. Did they do it on every movie? No. Did they do it in their first 6 releases? No. But Warner Brothers is stepping in there and they're sticking their big fucking noses in everything where it doesn't belong, instead of letting the creative geniuses over at the DC part and the directors and the writers do their thing. Nope. DC's got to try and show that their dick is bigger and call all the shots. They've done it with all of their movies. Every movie that DC, Warner Brothers has ever done together could have and should have been better, even if only slightly, without the studio's big nose in the business. Okay, that's it. I'm done. This one went longer than I wanted to. I hope you enjoyed it. Sound off down below. Anything you got to say, the good, the bad, the ugly. You know I want to hear it. There will be more videos like this to come, so keep a lookout for that. If you liked the video, check out the other 2 I did on DC versus Marvel. And that's it for this vid. I will see you guys next time.